Today in Smackey's Garage, we're going to be changing the starter on my 2018 F-150 with the 5-liter V8. My truck has had some issues starting in the past few weeks, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to fix that. Now on my truck, the issue that I've been having is randomly when the engine gets hot, it is much harder to start, and sometimes it doesn't even start. It's been really hard to capture on video, but essentially it either is very hard to turn over or it'll stall in the middle of turning over, stop, and then sometimes it'll start, sometimes it will not. Now we're gonna go ahead and take a look at the starter that's on there now to see if there's any reason why this is happening, but we're gonna go ahead either way, we're gonna replace it. I have a new one here, I'll show you what I bought, and let's go ahead, let's jump into it. Okay, so first step on this, we need to work under the hood. So this is my truck. It's a 2018 5-liter with about 100,000 miles. A little early for a starter to be going dead. I do take really good care of the truck, but it does seem to be having an issue. Now the first step of this project is going to be to remove the positive of the battery. Now, removing this is incredibly important. This does need to be removed to do this project. The way that starters work is typically there's a solenoid which turns on the power that's going to the starter, and the power to the starter is always there. So even when you're turning when the key is not turned, there's still power from the battery directly to the starter. So it needs to be done. Make sure it's out of the way and there's no chance for it to hit the battery again. Okay, now the starter on this truck is going to be under the passenger side, so we're going to need to work under there. It's going to be on the passenger side of the engine underneath the exhaust or the exhaust manifold. Okay, so very easy to see under here. You can see the starter right here. I actually don't have the truck jacked up, so this is just me laying under the truck, but you can see starter is right here. The bolts that are going to need to come out are, you need to take out the connectors on both sides. So over there, there's going to be 3 different bolts that we need to take out, and then we need to actually take the starter out of the truck bell housing back here. So not too bad of work to do. You just need to be able to access all the bolts. Now these bolts, there should be, I think they're 13 millimeter and 10 millimeter. So with that, we can go ahead and get those ready to come out. But first we're going to start with the cables up here before we do that. It's good to know what is going to go where. So looks like this is green, so this is probably a ground cable. This one is the positive over here. And then there's going to be the signal or solenoid wire, which is this smaller one right here. So on the end of it, there's going to be a cap. So you're going to need to pry this little cap off. The cap is going to be right here. So with that, we're going to need to pull that out. And then with that off, you can see it just falls out. The connector is there. This is for the positive side. So this nice and rusty 10 millimeter, this 13 millimeter, and then this 13 millimeter over here. Oh man, these are rusty. Okay, now with all those wires out, a few more bolts. You got to take this bolt out here, and then there's one on top of the starter coming in from the back. With these 2 out, you should just be able to take the starter out. It's going to be a little bit hard to get out, I believe, but you're going to have to make it work. Okay, just a note as you're doing this project, if you do have this tool, it is going to make your life a lot easier because there isn't a lot of room in there, and the bolts are mostly corroded, so to get them out, having this and not having to go back and forth slightly is going to help out a lot. Okay, so here's the starter that we're going to be replacing. And you can see that this wire from the solenoid to the battery is completely corroded. This is probably the failure point and what's actually causing high resistance, causing a trouble to start. But oh man, this is this is definitely seeing 100,000 miles. A little bit disappointed on how poor this is looking, but you know, we're going to end up replacing it with another starter, but hopefully looks the same. Here is another OEM starter. And I think the critical thing you can see here is, this copper is completely destroyed. Nothing looks good anymore. And then this is the new Ford starter, and everything looks so much better. I believe they are the same part numbers, -AB, yep, same revision too. So, after 100,000 miles, New England winters, this is what it looks like. This is what it looked like new. So I'm gonna end up replacing this one and making sure everything works as I get it ready to go back together. Yeah, so there's a big difference in kind of that wiring, that exposed wire. My guess and what I've heard is this is probably what's causing the issue. Just you can see the amount of corrosion and everything there. So it does feel like it is coated, but obviously that coating isn't doing well to hold up. Now checking out all the other connections, they all look fine. They all look good. So you have this is where the battery connects. This is where the solenoid connects, I believe. And then the ground goes off the connection here. So I'm going to clean this bolt up. I'm going to clean the other bolt up. And then we're going to put it into place. Now, one of the things that I do want to highlight when you do a project like this, it's better off for you to have Ford OEM parts that you're replacing rather than a brand that is XYZ that you can get anywhere. For something like this, you want to make sure you have a high quality part that you're installing. I do like the Ford parts when I'm going for something like brakes most of the time, starters, things that are required for the engine to run and for it to start. So with this, we are replacing with a Ford part, and just be careful. These parts are expensive. There's a lot of cheaper ones that you can buy, and if the expensive one is corroding, I would expect the cheaper one to be worse. There's no guarantee that it is, but make sure you maintain high quality. And since this starter got me 100,000 miles, I'm sure this next one will give me another 100,000 miles or 7 years. So we're gonna go ahead, let's get this ready to get back installed. So it's probably gonna be pretty hard for me to capture this full install. I'll do my best. When you're putting it back in, you wanna hang it from the top bolt first, then get the bottom bolt in, then go ahead and connect all the wires. So let's go ahead and get this in. Okay, you saw I got everything back into position. I put the wires back where they are supposed to go. You had the smaller solenoid wire, you had the ground, and then you had the positive battery cable. All those are connected back together, and then the cap is now into place. So with all that, we're good to reconnect the battery and we can start the truck and hope it works, but really not a hard project. So torquing the bolts, I put them really tight by hand. There really isn't a lot of room to get a torque wrench back there. So do how you want there, but I didn't need to lift up the truck. Let's go ahead and test it out. So, moment of truth. Let me get the keys and we're gonna try the remote starter. Which the hood needs to be down for it to work. It works. So as easy as that to change out the starter on this truck. I would say if you're gonna do this, go ahead and set aside an hour time. Really not that big of a project to do. All right, so I've been driving this for a week, and I actually can't believe how much quicker it starts up. That's one of the things that I didn't really consider that is significantly different. It does start up much faster than it did before, which is really great. I wasn't expecting the starter to be that degraded over the past few years, and it's definitely starting up significantly better than the past few weeks I've had it installed. Thanks for tuning in this week to Smackey's Garage. I'll see you next time.